The topic that he chose tonight is back to school. And I don't know about you, how many of you are a little bit freer because you have young ones or children in your care, grandchildren or children who are back to school and you have that moment of freedom? Anybody here? Any Zoom people? Well, I remember that first day my second kid went to school full time, and it was sit down, have a cup of coffee. And then I remember retirement, which was a number of years ago for me. Uh, I continued in education, but I left, full-time teaching. And that first morning in September, when everyone went back after Labor Day, and I sat there with a cup of coffee, and it felt so sweet. But most of us, I also had anxiety dreams. Anybody here have anxiety dreams the day before school? If you were a student? As a teacher, I couldn't find my class. I was back in my old PS 166 where I went to elementary school, and it had nothing to do with it, but it was like 4 flights of chain link fence and iron gates and very citified. And I couldn't find my class, and I was in a panic. I actually would panic going back the first day. And then once I got in, all the energy I thought I didn't have came up again. And just having live children in front of me, I taught high school here on the island, was so energizing. So that brings us to why we're talking about school here. Are you aware that we are a global university? That people all around the world are not just learning to meditate, although that's the icing on the cake. We are learning what God wants us to do. We're learning how to be more peaceful and loving and virtuous. We have courses. I have the privilege of going to the global headquarters on October 8th with 15 other BKs, and I won't see you for 2 weeks. Michelle will be here. And I am so excited to walk on the territory where the man who was inspired to start this whole thing actually brought it to a very small population of women, putting women in the front, and began those classes and even had a school for children. And now we've built a hospital, and I am so excited to walk on the ground there. And we will have classes. So, most of us go to school because we have a goal, right? We want to become something. We want to become a professional, or we want to become a carpenter, and we go for schooling and we have a goal. Some of us become experts on literature, on Bibles, and we read texts, right? And we become experts. Well, that's very nice to become an expert, but our goal here is a little bit different, as you may have guessed if you're a regular. Who's here for the first time? No, you're not actually. You're back, right? Anybody else here for the first time? Welcome, first timers, if you're on Zoom. So if you've been coming regularly, that our goal is to enhance ourselves, and it doesn't necessarily come with a diploma. Our goal is to attend this spiritual university right here every Thursday night. And if you choose to go beyond that, we have, I went to Peace Village upstate for the first time 18 years ago, and I'm only a student for 9 years. So when the magic happens, we welcome you to the classroom. And if it doesn't happen that way for you, we welcome you on Thursday nights to join us here. So I'm going to let Brother Eric come on down, and if he's ready. So let me see if I left. Yeah, so we're in the business of transformation, and what Brother Eric promises tonight is to prepare for our continuing education here and focus on our spiritual study. And I love this, the freshness which brings our own newness. That's transformation. How many of you have felt that already just by coming here Thursday nights? And you helped too. Brother Eric, are you with us? I see a hand.
Time to go to school. Wake up. Let's go to school so we never retire. I'll never look.
youngsters going to school from Africa. Cute. Pull up your socks, get ready to learn, and kind of put us in the mood. So back to school. When we talk of our themes and topics, that kind of has that feeling. September, summer's over, we're going to start something new. It's time to go back to school, learn. It was mentioned that this is a university worldwide. The name of the organization in India, in English, is Brahma Kumari's World Spiritual University. And in Hindi, it is Brahma Kumari's Ishwarya Vishwa Vidyalaya. Okay, it's a mouthful. But it's a school, and it's a place where actually we learn. That's what Global Harmony House is about. It's a study. It is a place where we can use our intellect, our skills, our backgrounds, and grow. And I hope that's the process for all of you, that you enjoy coming. And our Thursday nights are called Insight, because hoping that each time there's at least one, let me think about that kind of a moment. Okay, hope there are lots of them, but at least one where it has been identified or mentioned and you have a chance to think new. Because that's about the process that we go through. What can I think? What if I have a new thought? And I'm going to ask you to recollect sometime, and there have been many times, I'm sure, where you learn something and it's like, oh, wow. And it was kind of an amazing moment. Something had happened. Your intellect expanded, or you didn't see something the same way as before. There was a change, a new insight, Thursday night, insight. Somehow you had learned something and you had a wonderful experience. Does everybody have a moment like that? Lots of moments like that. There's many of them. And that's kind of what I wanted to highlight tonight, is that we have the chance to be in school, not only here, university type of a setting, but our lives are a school. And to hold that awareness that I have the chance to learn something new every day, and I have the ability to have that feeling of growth, change, more understanding. And it's not necessarily for a goal. We don't have to have the same perspectives we did in school. I want to do well on the test, and I want to make sure I get out of third grade and I graduate to fourth grade or whatever the process is. And we kind of in school one of our goals of being in school is to get out of school, and then start to live or do whatever it is. But that sense of school as being, a place, want to see if we can change that a little and see if we might use that concept of back to school, as school is the arena where we learn. And if you took some Western civilization or history of the West, you might have studied some of the Greek philosophers. And if I remember correctly, they had their classes outside under the trees. And then they would talk and such. They weren't confined to a desk, and they weren't confined to certain books, but it was an exploration. And I think that's a wonderful way to view our lives now. That it's an exploration, and that we can find something that will change us, that will empower us, that we'll see differently, that will make us feel alive. And I'm going to ask and have us all consider that's what being alive is about, I think. Feeling alive. And, it's possible that we can just have a routine, have kind of everything's okay. There might be upsets, and there might be little bumps in here and there. But how often do we have a wow, that's amazing type of a thought, experience, learning process? I'm going to offer that that's always possible. And that's kind of the intent of what our lives can be. Spiritual place, have that understanding. Because I went to a school, college, background was engineering, and we had a lot of book learning. I took a lot of math, forgot a lot of math in my life now too. But we would do a number of things and have to study and kind of show that we had learned that. And those were not real exciting. Okay. But we had some classes where it was talking about how things worked. And so there was the theory part. Here's the book. This is what it is. But there was also what they call the lab. And that was great fun to be able to have a thought and apply it. We did civil engineer. So how to build a dam, how to build roads, how things worked. And we had a hydraulics class. And basically we got to play with water. And we had these long chutes and water would come down, and then we'd figure out there's formulas and relationships to, what kind of a dam wall you would have. If it was like this, something happened. And if it was like this, I mean, you got to play. And you learned by experimenting, by playing. The theory class, not so exciting. This is what it was. Here's the formula. This is the guy who came up with it. This is what it, and this is, amazing things. But to me, it wasn't as exciting as seeing how the formulas created a result in the world. The lab. That was part of our school. And I want to offer that perspective that because we are in a kind of a outdoor Greek school, the world is our school, our life is a learning process, that we can learn something and apply it every day and see how that works. Because if you have a thought, if you come across something, it's nice to experience that through our thinking. You can read a book and there's a story, there's an image, and there's a feeling. Those are very powerful. But at the same time, there's a chance for us not only to think about it, but then to take that thought and apply it. When we apply those thoughts, then we are actually doing real learning. Does that make some sense? There's a difference between reading something and understand it, and I've learned the concept, and applying that, seeing how that works out. Easiest example is if I told you that this table was hot, you would probably say, okay, it's hot, and I would ask you, do you know what hot is? And you'd say, yes. But that would be much different than you coming up here and touching it and saying, wow, that's hot. There's a difference between knowing something in the head and knowing something because of the experience of that. And so it's not very hot, so don't worry about that. The concept of seeing ourselves accumulating ideas and having the ability to recognize those and say, wow, that's a a great thought. That's profound. You might get a lot of these things in your email. You might get them on your, I don't know if you have other accounts where people send you stuff. You know, be happy today, smile. Today's the first day of your life, or whatever might be coming. You know, you are a brave soul. All sorts of stuff you can get, and we send some out from the Brahma Kumaris. They're very nice. And it's like, oh yeah, that's good. But the intent is to hold on to that thought and see if you can step into that concept and become that. See if you can hold on to things, you know, have a good day, smile at everybody. I mean, there's all sorts of things. We read things here in the morning every day that are insightful and powerful and interesting, and they can paint a picture, they can give you an idea, they can give you an experience, lots of different ways to poke our intellect. But that should be the beginning of what it is our schooling is for. And that's to take a thought, a word, a feeling, idea with us and use it throughout the day. You know, we talk a lot about a number of experiences. Peace is a big one. And so if someone says to you, Om Shanti, Om, I am Shanti, Shalom, peace, I'm a being of peace. I say Om Shanti to you, I see you as peace. I say Om Shanti to you, I see my, okay. So that's nice. And that's what we say here. We see ourselves as spiritual beings, and we see everybody is a spiritual being, soul and body. Om Shanti. But that can be very superficial. But can we start to actually say, for this example, you know, I am a being of peace. I move into that experience, and I'm going to come from that place when I address you. Can I do that during the day with the people that I meet? Can I see them that way? Can I practice that? What is the experience and the results of my lab every day? And if you wanted to be great, then you could write that down in the evening. This was the concept I started with. This is what I practiced. This is the results. We are free to see ourselves released from a building of school and moving out into a broader education. The Brahma Kumaris teaches Raja Yoga meditation. I hope you come here and enjoy the music, the silence, the guided meditations. I'm going to try to open it up more than Thursdays, but that's where we're at right now, from 6:30 to 7, and then 7, we have a talk. But we have in our study and in our practice what we call 4 subjects. We have 4 ways of applying. And one is the knowledge, okay? The knowledge that we teach. And the fundamental beginning is, who am I? What are my qualities? How do I work? How does my mind? And I hope you've heard a number of those things over time. Some of the workshops, positive thinking, some of the conversations that take place. A lot of it is sharing the ideas. Who am I? How do I work? What is the process of thinking? Lots of things like that. That's the first subject. What do I know? What have I learned? And a Hindi word for that, if you want to know that, is Gyan, G-Y-A-N. It's the knowledge. And that's oftentimes where people get stuck. They learn something and they think about it and then they say, okay, yeah, I got it. Okay. And then what happens? It's pretty slippery. Like, yeah, I remember something like that. We've had individuals who came and did this, but then they get busy and I kind of remember some of the things. Oh yeah, I remember that. So we forget. Okay. I'm getting very, very good at forgetting these days. You know? It's like, I have my phone, I put it there. It's like, where'd my phone go? Yeah. My favorite is turning on the flashlights to look for my phone, like, where's my phone? I can't find it, Oh, pretty bad. But knowing something is the beginning. But then the next subject that we talk about is empowering that. It's the remembrance, the yoga, the meditation. I can tell you, we see each other as spiritual beings, peaceful souls. You're a being of peace. And you could say, yeah, okay, that's good. Peace is important. But there's nothing to that. The next step is to, okay, let me take that idea and work with that and make it into something. I am a peaceful soul. Let me think about that. Let me hold that. Let me move into the experience of that. And that makes it real. Because you can agree that, oh yeah, spiritual qualities, that's what we all have. But until you touch it and learn what hot means, what does actually peace result in? And so our meditation is to take an idea and a thought and to make it real. Not just to accumulate words in our head and be able to regurgitate. That's what I had to do in a lot of things. Professor would write something down and I would write something down. And later on, they'd ask me to write the same thing down on another piece of paper and I'd write that down. And they'd say, hey, you learned it. Okay. I had a friend, little tangent, was very smart. But he wasn't a good student. He was really smart. And the day before a test, he would stay up all night and read and read and read and read and put it all in his head. And the next morning or whenever it was, he'd be able to write it all down and he got good grades. And then he would forget it. He just kind of was able to absorb and be able to do that. So I lost track of him, but it was amazing. I would have to kind of every day kind of go back and wasn't so smart. So I needed a little more work. But that sense of applying it and experiencing it, that makes it real. Because when you have the experience of touching something that's hot, you won't ever forget that. That'll stay with you. No pun intended, but that'll be burned in your memory. It will be easier. And so when you think that I am a being of peace, I am a peaceful soul, that's in the head. But can you take that and work with that and think about it and see yourself and have the meditation on that thought and allow that experience to reveal itself? Like, oh, I feel more peaceful. And then that would be an individual experience. But the more you have that, the more you start moving into what we consider our third subject. And that's our way of being. There's a Hindi term for that, dharna, Dharna. It's how you do things. It's your personality. It's your way of doing things. It's in a way, your religion. What do you do? How do you exemplify what you believe in? What do you become? And the more you practice being peaceful, the more you see yourself, the more you hold that, the more you look for that, the more you practice that, the more you become that. Given lots of courses about that methodology. And I can tell you how to become a plumber. You hang out with plumbers, you talk about plumbing things, you read about plumbing stuff, you do plumbing, piping, whatever it is, and you spend a lot of time with those subjects and those topics, and you will be a better plumber than you are now. I can tell you how to be a doctor. You hang out with doctors, you talk about doctor stuff, you read doctor things, you watch doctor stuff, you practice doctor things. And pretty soon, you're going to be like a doctor. It's our dharna. It's our way of being. The more we practice peace, the more we think about that, the more we experience it, the more we kind of work with that, the more that's who we will become. And so that understanding is, if I take an idea, the knowledge, and I empower that and experience that through my yoga, and I apply it, that's what I will become. That's my dharna. That's what we call the third subject here. We practice, we become. And if you don't have a conscious choice of what you want, then you'll probably become whatever bumps into you. You'll be very reactive. And so would offer as your takeaway, one of them, how do you want to be? How are you wanting to spend your time? What are the qualities that you want? There was a teacher in a school who asked the little kids what they wanted to be when they grow up. Want to be a fireman, want to be a doctor, want to be a pilot, want to be an astrophysicist, want to be a insurance middle manager, all sorts of different things kind of came up. And then asked another kid, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I want to be happy. The teacher says, I don't think you understand the question. Little kid says, I don't think you understand life. So we're not asking about what occupation or how do you want to fill your time, but how do you want to be as you do whatever you're going to do? Because one of my understandings is that if you choose to think of something, if you choose to practice that, that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to find. That's what's going to avail itself to you. You will see and become what you practice and what you think about. And that's a concept in knowledge, but I'm hoping that you will use that, think about that, and practice that. What do you really want to see? What do you want to experience? Because it happens. I can tell you that, but I'd rather you know that, experience that, know that it's hot. If you're looking for the good in people, you'll find it. If you're looking for what's wrong with people, that's not real hard. They may have both, and you might be able to recognize them. But can you live your life in a way that is going to support how you want to be? It's practice. It's pretty simple. Whatever you practice, you're going to get good at. And the more we practice that, the more we become that. And we kind of wander into the fourth subject that we study here. And that's, as you become something, that's automatically what you share, what you give. If you practice being upset by what's going on in the world, you talk about how you feel and you share your upsetting, and that's your service. That's what you are offering. That's what you're sharing. So whatever we practice, whatever we become, automatically is what we give. And what do you want for yourself, and what do you want for the world? And then consider that. Am I acting in a way that is helping myself, my family, my neighbors, the world, whatever kind of concepts you want to hold in the way that I would like it to be. You know, there's a comedian who's, says, I'd kill for the Peace Prize. Okay. Um, it's one of those things that, you can't behave in one way that's contrary to your goal. And so what do you want? How do you behave? And if you are thinking you want something and doing something contrary to that, there's a little, disconnect going on. So how do we use those subjects? How do we understand that? How do we become something? And what is it that we share? In a university, this school, this learning place, spiritual knowledge. What do I learn? What do I experience? What am I becoming? And what am I sharing? And we're all doing that, consciously or unconsciously, focused or not. If you don't learn much, you don't experience much, you don't change much, you don't give much. And so when you interact with others, there's probably, not much happening. And so you are not much of an influence in your own life and in others. That's not bad. But that's not what's possible. Because if we start to look for and find the things that excite us, kind of, oh, that's a great idea. Let me see if I can experience that in my own life. Meditate on it, hold that thought. For us, the meditation is basically, what am I thinking about? Let me see myself quiet, calm, peaceful soul. And then that grows. And that's what I become. That's how I lead my life. That's what I've able to accomplish. And then that's kind of what I'm going to see and do and share and create. And I like the concept that, what kind of a neighbor would you like? How would you like your neighbors to be? And it's pretty easy to decide that, I think. You kind of want them courteous. You want them to be, nice. You don't want them to be too intrusive. You don't want them to be too noisy. You'd like to say hello. You want to have a good enough relationship that's, if you need a cup of sugar or something, you know them, talk to them. You might want it, a variation of those things. That makes sense? Those are the neighborly qualities that you'd like. So you know exactly how you should be. You have neighbors. They probably want the same type of a person. So can you be kind? Can you be open? Can you be this? Because that will give them a chance to respond to those qualities. They will see that, they will act that, they will be influenced, they will choose as best they can to be like that. And I hope you know theoretically, intellectually, only the opposite of that. If you shout at your neighbors, if you fight at them, if you, irritate them, you kind of invite them to do the same thing to you. And you hear it on the news periodically how that escalates. Neighbors are fighting over a parking spot. Bang, something happens. We have that opportunity to use every day to discover different concepts. And if you can remember your student life, I'm not sure what it's like these days, but there were a variety of subjects. You would have had arithmetic, you would have had social studies, you would have had, maybe you had art, maybe you had music, Um, and there's different ways that we can start to think and express ourselves. And when we think of going back to school outside, free, everything is a learning lab. One of the things that I found wonderful about school is we got a chance to do things that we weren't used to. We got introduced to new subjects, new topics, new ideas, and we had new teachers. And going back to school, that song, I'm going to do this and get my pens and pull up my socks and whatever they were saying. It's a nice checking point. Do I have enthusiasm for what might come my way each day? Hey, it's a new day. I made it. Now there's something else. Am I eager to see what comes my way, use what I have learned and practiced and see what happens there, and maybe find something new to experience? Do you think you could try that way of seeing yourself and your day? Wow, this is a great gift. Got a new day. What am I going to learn? What am I going to apply? What am I going to try? What would I like to accomplish? How can I keep my ears and eyes open for something new so that it's like, aha, that's pretty amazing. So that we can feel alive. Have you ever gone through a day and nothing happens? It's kind of got up, we did this, did that, nothing great to eat. Nobody said in much, nothing really happened, made it through the day. Could be a lot worse. A lot of people would be happy with a day like that, I think. It's like, oh, didn't get too stressed out, didn't get too worried, didn't get too bothered. But is it possible for us to make a decision? I'm going to influence my day. And I'm going to influence my way by starting out empowering myself. How can I be? What are the qualities? Let me take that idea and meditate on it, empower it, hold that, feel that, and then see what happens when I use that. And so every day here, and I'm hoping that you do it one way or the other, you pick up something, listen to something, hear something, read something that would strike you as new. Passage, phrase, book, whatever it is. And then whatever's in there, hold that during the day. Be peaceful, be happy, be courageous, whatever that might be. We have a lot of blessings. You're going to get one tonight. Took your homework for tomorrow. Make it real easy. This is school, so you get homework, right? You're going to get a blessing, and it's going to have some words on it, and it's going to have an inspiration. So tomorrow, read that when you get up and think about that. How can I embody this? How can I share this? How can I look for this? How can I, it's a treasure hunt. So every day could be a treasure hunt. Where's the peace? Where's the joy? Where's the happiness? Where's this? How can I act this way? How can I share this? What can I make my life the way I want it to be? New, fresh, exciting, full. Because there's a good chance if you're happy and content, you're going to attract happy and content. It worked the other way in some of the places I worked. If you're grumpy and you're kind of sad, then you kind of hang out with the grumpy and sad ones. Kind of gather together, So who do you want to be with? And how do you want to become? So we've got subjects that we can think about. We've got things that we can read. We practice through our meditation. And whatever we think about and meditate is what we become. And whatever we become is automatically what we've got to share. And so going back to school, spiritual awareness. Those are our subjects. Those are our practices. Those are what we're going to become. I'm hoping we're going to open it up now for comments and questions and any inputs. We have a little time for that. What are we learning? What are we spending our time with? What are we becoming? And what are we sharing? Because life is a school. Shanti, any comments, questions, thoughts, inspirations, traumatic experiences of kindergarten? We need the microphone on. Is the handheld mic power up? Yeah, no, it might be there. I need some volume. Try it again.
Here we go.
There we go. Thank you.
Okay, so I wanted to share two things. I do a lot of driving for work and I'm contemplating and I'm thinking, and today I had this recollection of something that I really loved when I started college, when I took intro to philosophy. And it had to do with the idea of being and becoming. And so I was contemplating that all afternoon, like it's about becoming, you know, and Michelle Obama wrote this book called Becoming. So when we have a spiritual practice and we work on ourselves, we're becoming. And when you opened up the talk tonight, I was reminded of this story. Yeah, you were talking about experience and practice, like the difference between like you can read something and study it, but until you've actually, you know, and I had this very simple everyday life experience, which was my car broke down. And this was a few years ago, and I called a friend and I was in a parking lot and he came and he turned the car on, he fidgeted and he said, I think it's the starter. You probably need a new starter. So I said, okay. So I got my car fixed. I needed a new starter. And 3 months later, I'm at a gas station and there's this family and their car won't start. So I walk over to this man and I said, can I sit in the seat for a second? And I did exactly what this other guy did. I said, I think it's your starter. And I was able to start his car. And he was so grateful. But in the moment, the cycle became complete. And it was like, it was visceral. And it, you know, to another person, it was like, not, it might not mean anything. But for me personally, like I got something really profound about giving and receiving and how it's just one thing.
Great.
So,
one of my tires kind of goes flat. Would you have any experience with that? All right. Great.
Anyone else here? I'll go check the Zoomers.
See how it goes. Yeah, we've got,
Zoom, you can unmute yourselves.
if you can put some power to the, those online, if anybody would like to, we're opening that up. I hope.
You know, can I just comment
Sure.
a second? I'm thinking as you're talking about, you know, learning, we spend a lot of time learning here, morning, evening, and then having that knowledge, practicing it, putting it into practical experience, which John Dewey brought up in education in the 1950s. And as a teacher, I witnessed what happened when kids are given a writing assignment and instead of a pen and paper, you put them in a computer room with 20 terminals and they're riveted, they're focused, they're doing, and they would sit there forever, you know, actually having that experience of the mechanics of it. And it's exciting and it keeps feeding them. So it's a perfect illustration, I think, of what we, really need to do with what we learn. We have people that are experts, on the Bible, but do they have that richness? And when you shared about making your day the way you want it to be by being it, and I'm thinking how privileged I am to be here every day when I connect, when I do that yoga, I sit back, and sure enough, the deeper I went, the more I get. You're nodding yes. You've had that experience also? Would you like to share something with us? Haven't, yeah, here. Let's zoom in on the experience too.
Let everybody hear. That's great.
Well, no, I was just thinking, I think what really hit me tonight more than anything, that Eric was saying, emphasizing, was being, that whole thing with being and becoming, becoming. But our being, I find that it's like I don't know, a thermometer or some kind of a measuring device. Like if I start experiencing some negativity in my mind or my emotions, I'm beginning to see that we can kind of take that back. Or we can just say, let it go, and just say, no, that's not where I want to be in my head. It's very subtle, but you can just feel the quality of the life in yourself and around you when you start. Especially, I think we all have problems when we drive. That's actually a great lesson, driving, to see how we can experience the craziness of the road, but just trying to stay not in negative emotions. The negative emotions, and they're very fast and they're very reactional right away. But then if we see it, okay, so we see it immediately and we draw it right back in and say, no, I'm not going there. That's something very valuable. That increases our being, or at least it substantiates it. We want to stay on the track of peaceful being and kindness.
Good.
Anyone else? One of the most powerful statements you made tonight for me was, do I want to be reactive, or do I want to be what I want to see in the world? Do I want to wake up and say, I'm going to be that person? And I love the blessing cards. Read it today. I love the homework assignment.
Yeah.
Good idea. Yeah.
For me, it's important to keep things fresh. We get some water in the backyard and mosquitoes grow in there. It's stagnant and such. So it needs to flow. And it's the same with ideas in the mind. Okay, just having one idea gets a little tiring. So how can I learn something, practice something, hang out with others that are, in that same realm? Is a great way to do that. And that's why I like Thursday nights. Coming together, sharing ideas, different people, different ways. We get to pull what we know is going to work for us. Not expecting to be a civil engineer by any means, but the process of playing, I think that's a wonderful idea. How can I just kind of play with ideas in my life? Not be so serious all the time and not have to accomplish anything necessarily, but just to be myself with these things and try to apply and see what happens. Becomes quite light when we go through the day that way, for me. Anyway, anybody else?
Anyone else?
Zoom? Anybody there?
Just unmute. And the third quality, Darna, how am I? How do I be? Your personality, but it was just so moving. And I just drew a blessing card myself. I want to be this tomorrow. I have the strength to let go of what damages my heart and the gentleness to hold on to what heals. Do I go through life as a warrior, looking for what's wrong, judging others? been guilty of that. And just today, something happened where I was making a judgment of someone. And I found that with my training here, I turned it around 180 degrees and I started to see the person's attributes, the character. And it changed me because I felt I healed. She'll still do what she did, but I healed. And there is always something in someone, as you said, you know. So anybody want to comment or ask a question?
Very good.
Want to do a little-
We're going to do two things. One is just a little reflective process. And I'm going to ask for your cooperation because in schools, there are students and kind of talked tonight and helped you identify yourself as student or think about yourself. But there are also teachers. And Brahma Kumari's worldwide organization. And there was an individual who was a great teacher for many of us. His name was Nirvair. And he was in our headquarters in India for as long as I've been around. And so probably 50 or 60 years, he's been someone who's helped administer, organize. And if you haven't realized this, he got older too. And today he passed away. And so we're going to have a little silent commentary meditation for that soul. But I'd like to expand it also. And for you, as we share a little time, for all of your teachers. And have that thought, good vibrations, positive energy of what they modeled, what they shared, and how they helped you become who you are. And so if you're okay with that, for that soul and for all the souls that have been teachers in your life, why don't we see if we can just settle in, take a breath, deep breath. I always like to start that way. And relax, find yourself comfortable. And recognize that you're here, Global Harmony House, Thursday night insights, sitting in a comfortable bench with like-minded souls. And we've come to explore our inner life, become aware of some of our spiritual truths. Because we are students at the University of Life. We're not limited to a building to be in school, but everything that we think, everything that we do is connected to our learning, our life. And now think about what you've received from all those who have helped you, taught you, showed you, been a role model for. Because there are many souls in our lives who we've taken benefit from. So think about the many souls, teachers, role models. Just share your good wishes with them. And feel their love they gave to you. Their love was knowledge. Their love was guidance. Their love was wisdom. That you have experienced their love throughout your life. And know that that is a gift and a treasure. And see if that knowledge can now be empowered with your yoga, with your meditation, into the experience, being cared for, appreciated, and loved. And know that as you hold that thought and you feel that quality, you're transforming yourself. And as you transform, you will become powerful, and that will be your service, what you share. So thank you to our teachers and our friends on the journey of learning. And may you have a great day at school tomorrow. Om Shanti.
Shanti, just a few quick announcements. Brother Eric, thank you so much on behalf of everybody, right? Beautiful, beautiful evening. Thank you. Okay, so if you have the email, if you're on our email list, you know that we have a very special event coming up this Saturday. We're really going to hold a session 4 to 5:30 on peace and the meaning of it and the depth of it. We're going to have music and conversation and meditation. So if you can come this Saturday, 4 to 5:30, it should be, and refreshments downstairs too. So you'll be able to chit chat. Okay, we continue to have the class at Levittown, but we need registration beforehand also for Saturday. There's a flyer. No, there isn't a flyer for that, but you can call Harmony House and let them know you're coming. So we'll have preparation for you on Saturday. But for Levittown, if you want to come and have the Raj Yoga meditation course, beginnings, informations, just call Harmony House and we'll make sure we're there for you. And I think that's about it. Next week, we have Brother Tony. So do tune in or join us here in person. Thanks for coming. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Beautiful
Good
evening.
night.
Good
See you
night,
soon again.
everyone. Come have a blessing and some Toli.
Shanti.